I can't wait to be a part of this greater whole, where a stranger can be my friend and compassion is the goal. This is what I envision. I began my project back in January of this year. The idea came to me when I couldn't sleep one night. I think we've all probably been there or done that. And I started envisioning all the people I've ever become close with in my life. And I realized that no matter at face value if our encounter had been negative or positive, there was always something they had to teach me. And so I thought, okay, if people I've become close with had something to teach me, then strangers must as well. And this is what I've set out to prove, that everyone in the world has something to teach us. So what I envisioned has become the project, and the project has become my reality. And here I painted a watercolor of the world, kind of showing what I'm hoping to encompass. Every time I go up to a stranger, I ask them all a single but very important question. It is, if you could give any kind of advice on anything at all to any person, what might you say to them? And their answers speak volumes about who they are and what they've experienced in their lives. And their responses are often far less cliché than one might think. I then write down their name, age, where they're from, their response, and typically where I am in that moment or how I feel about the time. So I never forget that person, and I always, always, always remember that stranger. And I've actually had a lot to remember because in the past 10 months, I alone have talked to over 200 strangers from 35 different countries around the world. And as you can see in this image are the 35 different countries that I've reached out to so far. I actually just recently got Iran, and I'm stoked to fill that one in. You know, it's kind of cool to see it all come together on paper. It's very beneficial when I travel. I just recently took 2 trips, one to the Dominican Republic and a solo endeavor to Stockholm, Sweden. So here I have a few images from that solo trip. Here's my passport, kind of getting ready to go, yeah. And then the sunset on the way over, a photograph I took. And this picture is so beautiful, but the trip was as well. And it's hard to articulate the magnitude of traveling to Europe alone at age 15. Here we are in Stockholm, Sweden, and when there, I met a stranger by the name of John. Between the 3rd and 4th buildings on the left, there was a small cafe. And in that cafe is where we met, so I sat down and started talking to him. I asked the question, if you could give any kind of advice on anything at all to any person, what would you say to them? He looked me in the eyes and he says this, never, never, never give up. That's my motto, forward always. And he was so genuine. I specifically remember writing down in my notes about his genuine eyes and disposition, and I wouldn't have wrote that if it wasn't so true. He was incredible. He asked me something that only one person before from the project has done. He asked me my advice. Now, John was from Colorado, but he was going back to Sweden where he was born to visit. The other man who asked me the same question a few weeks later was also from Colorado. I feel like maybe there's something in the water there. I'm feeling like I need to go, right? So, John, at the age of 21, had become real, and that's what he has to teach. A few days later, I was waiting outside of the Vasa Ship Museum in Sweden. I'd got in line alone, traveled there for the day, and I met 2 men from India, one by the name of Riya and the other Santanas. I asked the question. Santanas the entire time said nothing, but Riya was telling me about the silent man next to him. And Santanas is a holy man from India. He saves people in his town and provides them with food and water. He's like their symbol of hope, you could say. That entire time, Santanas never even nodded his head, validating what he did for his community. and Ria never said the word I. These two men are an anthem of humility. They taught me what it means to be selfless. Deviating a little bit from what they taught, also something rare happened in this encounter, similar to John. Ria says to me, we don't normally do this. It's a secret. But you seem like the kind of person we do this to. And I'm thinking, oh man, what did I get myself into? But Santanas comes up into my ear and does a holy Indian ritual. Ria then says, your life's going to be changed forever. But what perhaps they don't realize is that just by meeting them and other strangers, my life does change. Because through meeting these two men, I've now learned to say I less in conversation. Through meeting John with his life motto, forward always, my favorite word has now become onward. And every time I say it, I always think of John. Finally, for the third encounter, we go to Australia. Outside of this building in Chicago, I met Jag. He's from Australia. When I first saw him, he had kind of this cool, calm, collected vibe, right? I love that. So I went up to him and asked, if you could give any kind of advice on anything at all to any person, what would you say to them? And he first questioned me more about the project, and I told him. He goes, that's ridiculous. Take what you want. Luck is for losers. Now, Jag was so bold in stating that, right? It's an honest and bold statement to make. But what's interesting is he had no regard for what I or any person around us was going to think. He said what he felt, and he meant it. Jag shows to us that it's important when the time's right to say what we feel, but to mean it. And the second part is what we all most often forget. Everyone has something to teach us. And through these three encounters, they kind of depict what I envision for the human race through the project. I gave my endeavor the name, The Project, because I never wanted to confine it. I think it's always going to be growing beyond its name. If we regard everyone we meet as our teacher, I envision we become more genuine like John from Colorado. And we'll become a more humble people like Santanas and Ria because we realize that we don't know it all. And finally, we'll become more bold and unafraid like Jag. Because regarding every person you meet, no matter if your encounter is negative or positive, as your teacher, is a bold and unafraid way to live, and it's not often the easiest. But I've found it's the most fulfilling. So now I'll share with you my statement when John asked me my advice. I said that everything goes back to people. And if you're going to treasure anything, that you might as well treasure them. Everyone has something to teach us. So now I'll close with a poem that I wrote. Basically, I can't wait to be a part of this greater whole, where a stranger can be my friend and compassion is the goal. This is what I envision. A patchwork of genuine and open-minded nations, human-to-human connection. I worry that technology can be our companion, but one day you may look around and wonder what happened to your human friends, realizing you can no longer salvage them. Prevent it. In your hands you hold the opportunity to appreciate the human race. Do it. Be bold. That's the moral of the story, that everyone's got something to offer. And if you could put down your phone, you might discover that a holy man from India taught me humility without speaking a word. And one from Colorado, in his eyes and disposition, genuine is all I heard. And a woman from Russia once validated to me that to be open and communicate is the essence of a life well deserved. They are my teachers. You and I, we are each other's teachers. Now you contribute to the world, and it's your choice how you affect it. Do not confine yourself to silence, stand, never sit. And sometimes they're going to try to strip you of your light. But when the time's right, shout. Shout it out loud, I'll say it now. Proclaim with your unique voice that appreciating the human race is a variable of choice. I'll let you in on a secret. True learning. So when you take someone's words and you let it hit you, boom, 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 feel that? That's my heart. I've been learning from this world since my very start, and now I can feel it in my chest. My vision is this. You all will learn something from everyone you know. Then perhaps think twice about a person's relevance in your life. This is how we'll grow. Everyone's got something to teach. Even the strangers, they too have their anthem that they preach. It's in our best interest to listen. Do not deny yourself an extraordinary existence. This is what I envision. Thank you.